Hey guys, Lex here, back for some more of the Great Ace Attorney. Last time we finished the summation examination, and let's continue the trial. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you've heard the defense counsel summation examination. Oh yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Call, blimey. This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windybanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as, wasn't it? It was, Dash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out my lucky pockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. God, blimey. On the ninth question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will now tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov, we hear ya. We blurb, we'll speak, we'll speech. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see, made us both jump, and all that stuff went fine. Lummy, it didn't half give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out of the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scampered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? You admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tied it up, yeah? Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? Can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at the Windybanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Hold it! If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Gringo, me old China. We only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony. That's exactly what you've done. landed yourselves in even more trouble.
It's rotten luck,
says the rotten apple eater.
Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter?
We never ransacked nothing.
Right, Dash, right. More like we tidied up the place. Sorry.
Hold it!
So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshots shocked you so much, you knocked all those things off the counter.
Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah.
The bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on.
Look, it was loud, alright. Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up at that bang.
Big brother screamed like a blooming baby and fell over the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot.
That got giggled and some marionette. We knocked over a picture frame. What knocked them scales on the floor?
You've really mastered working quietly then.
What a racket. My granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that.
So in short, the gunshots took you by surprise.
They did so. I mean, it was quiet as the mouse, and then all of a sudden, bam!
Excuse me!
Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add?
Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels.
No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something?
It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details.
How about you just tell us what's on your mind?
As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still, I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, fellas. If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy. Well, we'll get it right this time. That's it. Yep, it's all coming back to me now.
Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs.
Yeah, right you are, Gov.
What? Just noticed that I didn't heal my 2 health things. Oh god, I have still have 3. I'll just press it again then. So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously?
We did, Gov, we did.
Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all.
If you don't want to get shot.
You be that cut.
Bam! Kind of thing.
Career in acting you tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from, could you tell?
Of course we could. From the other side of the door behind the counter it was.
From the storeroom, where the victim was found dead.
And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank. On my gran's life, of course it was.
On his granny's life, of course it was.
So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Winterbank and the sound of his voice?
So that would mean what? What, nurse? What? Any ideas? Yes, counsel. Indeed it would. Nah. We didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to know when that bloke and all fancy club are giving us the evil eye?
If you value your lives, you'll ensure your testimony is accurate and true.
On my greatest life it is.
On his granny's life it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them all over the shop floor.
You make it sound like we're clumsy.
Don't forget we tied it up like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. What? Wait. Should I present for this, or I'll press it and present it after? You're saying that Mr. Winterbank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have been pretty heated. I mean, just before he shot it out, we heard the geezer say, "If you don't want to get shot."
Didn't really sound like a minute mind. More like an empty threat, you could say.
Mr. Winterbank was known to keep a revolver in his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. His own head. That someone being himself, of course.
Good grief, extraordinary devotion, indeed, if alarmingly misguided.
Well, certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper.
Bet he wished instead he squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun."
And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot? It was more or less at the same time, Gov.
"Give me that gun." Bam! Kind of thing.
Yes, a career in acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went dead quiet.
After that, we done a slapdash job tidying up the place.
So you skip this?
Objection!
You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Winterbank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct?
That's right, Gov. You got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes, no question.
And yet the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Winterbank was not in possession of a firearm in any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight the evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more?
Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is fairly lacking, counsel.
Yeah, that's right.
Too right, Nash. Too right. The old geezer couldn't have been able to turn the tables on the girl, eh?
Hardly likely.
No, I'm afraid this won't could stand as conclusive evidence. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel, and heed my early warning. Witnesses. The sculpin's never skulking.
Hold it!
So you didn't try to open the storeroom door then?
Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. Well, anyway, the doors was locked, weren't it? No way that was opening.
Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe.
It was, Goff, it was. From the inside.
Right, and we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like through the keyhole or spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day, we'll really cut up the mustard. Please cut it out. Thus we know, behind the door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Sheena was in there unconscious, with a gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom?
That's right, Gov, that's right.
Couldn't have, even if we wanted to.
Hold it!
Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Oh, yeah, we was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up.
If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put your loaded gun in your hand.
Good advice, miss, good advice.
Truth be told, me mind went totally blank.
Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand.
Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or someone, so they clapped the derbies on us like winking.
And after you had been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct?
Oh, well, yeah. But listen, that proves it done, eh?
Hold it!
Why should we believe that?
Eh, what? Well, 'cause it's true, ain't it? The place was totally empty when we went in.
At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these 2 witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windebeck. Correct?
You got it, mister.
Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windebeck. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony?
What is it, Bruno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired.
Oh, that's true, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it.
Well, feelings can be very illogical at times.
Sorry?
People's expressions, the moment of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in your brain and quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about the testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts.
Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Hey guys, Editor Lex here. If you haven't noticed, my voice was already dying since the start of the episode. I just cut out 20 minutes of me being confused, but going through everything without saying anything?
Objection!
Anyway, let's continue. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct?
There it is, Gov. You've got the picture. He is, Nash. He is. No question.
And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description.
You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand.
Yeah, that Maltula used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam. Kinda thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. The crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony. It would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency to the final moments you just acted out.
Goodness, are you sure, counsel?
You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments?
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witness claimed to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot.
Indeed. We have two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe.
Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean at that moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, if I could ask the court to study the photograph of the victim's body again, you could clearly see that Mr. Windibank was in fact shot from behind.
Oh.
So as stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin.
Yeah. But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. Why you was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes.
Did I hear you just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun?
Yeah. Someone like that must have slipped out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person.
Nash,
Yeah.
Order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, you weren't supposed to,
It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I've made it quite clear that false witness be the death of you.
am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? I'm so sorry, Governor. Truth is, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we pleb now, you know what it'll do to us.
Key, who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There's no other option available to you.
Ruff, come on. The game's up. We'll have a guts for goddess.
In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out.
On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to?
On pain of death, I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Jeez. Counter with the victim.
Alright, so we just go inside the gaff and leave the sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug.
Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like we was possessed. I thought we'd had it.
For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter.
I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room.
We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear.
So you're now telling us that the moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop?
Well, yeah. So sorry. Well, we'll find ourselves in an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, this time, we ain't got nothing to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense. You may proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Encounter with the victim.
Alright.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank?
Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. He was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that.
Back room being the pawnbroker's storeroom?
Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place it could have been.
So it would seem the victim was already in the store when these brothers entered the premises.
Which means Ginny must have been there at that point as well.
But that doesn't make any sense, does it? Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank in the storeroom with her at gunpoint. Then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you see the accused at the time?
Huh? That mole told her? Couldn't tell you.
No way, Cobba. We had bigger fish to fry then.
I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door.
Do we?
But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he?
Well, yeah.
Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time?
Was he ever, Prime Lummy? Great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at me front to speech.
So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with a gun at that time, is that right?
It is, Gov. It is spot on.
Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did.
It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who.
You were clearly all going for each other.
What next then? We thought we had him, I mean.
Hold it!
Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too.
Well, yeah, of course we did. Knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some area that what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over the scales on the floor.
So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shook you and made you knock things off the counter.
Well, Big Provia went flying over the counter like a gunshot, I could tell you. Then the geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a blooming pancake in seconds.
At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbroker. There was a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right, when the brothers fled the scene and back into the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they?
Poor Mr. Windybank. He did everything he could to protect his shop.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windybank?
Nah, never. I was just, looking out for me bruv, one eye. He was being flattened, don't forget.
By a man whose shop was being burgled. Yes. And then, the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed the gun at him, is that it?
Yeah, that was it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shot himself in.
There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true.
I wonder why Mr. Windybank ran away into the storeroom.
What?
Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him with a gun.
Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windybank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windybank's hands again?
I have no idea, but that's strange, isn't it?
This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it.
Look, the point is, me and my brother. That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and my brother.
Hold it!
You say you had nothing to do with it?
Nothing at all. Nothing, Golf, nothing. The old geezer went and shot himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch.
So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade.
It would appear so. What did you say to that, counsel?
I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Windybank? There could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin.
What? What's that look for?
From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night. The course of this trial changed completely.
It did.
What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windybank, and it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all.
You have my attention.
In that case, let us return to the plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, just locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be?
Counsel, you must now provide the answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums.
2, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe.
Indeed, namely. What location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord.
Are you alright right now?
I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely.
So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person may have fired the gun.
Mir.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here.
And in answer to the second question, assuming the victim fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
Here.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom.
Continue.
Mr. Windenbank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood in the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired?
So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom?
Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony.
I pulled my gun on him, then legged it through the door into the back room.
If Mr. Windenbank ran through the door, then we have to assume that the door was open at that time.
Oh,
It was at that precise moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom.
Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial?
Moving on to the findings of the Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states the bullet entered the body, a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself.
Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety.
Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory.
So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windenbank.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten. The storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. He claimed the victim was shot as he fled into the room. He also claimed his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock.
But what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there was someone else who could have locked the storeroom door.
Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from the outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant is Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd.
You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room.
For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel?
Defend herself, duh. Ah yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it?
Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please.
But of course Gina would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it?
It does? Are you dumb?
Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars just fired a gun in her direction when they...
Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Winterbank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at the time, but at some point, Mr. Winterbank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom.
Intruders, eh? That's off, bruv.
If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Winterbank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment?
I see where you're going with this.
Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Winterbank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we'd never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would shoot Sholmes. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Winterbank's murder.
Where does this leave us?
You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all?
I should have known it was those three brothers. They looked shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now.
I know, first time ever. Probably the last.
Well, I think you've done it. Surely they have got to give a verdict of not guilty.
An admirable effort, my learned friend. Huh? What's this now? He's laughing.
You find the situation amusing, Lord Fensakes. I myself find the defence's argument most persuasive.
I dare say. They have rifling marks now. Such chicanery is bread and butter of the street performers in your provisional Eastern nation. But such blatant malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me you're unaware of your logic's failing?
I say, Lord Six, might be an idea to explain this poorly conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground,
The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets.
Ah, George, count bullets.
Oh dear. We noticed then.
Huh? What's everyone talking about?
Counsel.
Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. Two bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene.
Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your Lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Winterbank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun.
Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each.
Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did.
My goodness, I think you'll find
that if a single bullet was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means
Winterbank not shot by same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop.
Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a visionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny.
Shit. Order.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery.
Lord Van Zieks.
But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with a loathsome intent. As we could see beyond doubt in this print which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. Oh, the disc. Oh, jeez, I want to know what's on the disc. I'll be taking that, whatever it is, to McGilbert's down to the yard. Thank you very much.
No, don't give it to him. It's mine, Daddy, it's mine.
Sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now.
Yes, the music box disc. Gilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Winterbank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence.
Good gracious.
Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril.
I see. I would think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence counsel as a grim testament to defendant's character.
Lord Van Zieks,
Inspector Gregson, what?
Yes, Inspector.
We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence.
What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? It's the first time he said anything to Van Zieks at all.
I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insisting.
Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The
prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord.
Indeed, bailiff.
Box disc has been added. The prosecution has established the accused's... I wanna see what's in this. Wait.
Ormick killed it. That's the man you defended in court a couple of months ago, isn't it, Bruno?
Yes, or rather, mistakenly defended.
I wonder what his name's doing in the back of this disc.
That's a question I'd like to know an answer to myself. Oh, it's the same. Wait a minute.
Oh, Bruno, look.
This...
This is blood.
Yes, you're right. There's a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before.
Aha, it's time for me to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Bruno.
Can we get this done quickly, Iris?
In a flash.
Almost didn't click on this. Green? Wait.
Oh, a lovely bright shade again.
Oh? Wait, that color. That's Sholmes's, right?
What is it?
It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Hmm. Yeah. Oh wait, was this Sholmes? Oh, this is Egbert Benedict's blood. Alright, I think I'll end it here. Next time, we'll see if my guess is right. Thanks for watching. See you. Bye.